Hello, and welcome to the episode of Todd Talks, and Todd Talks people listen. Hopefully, because today we have to preview the upcoming insane, I can't believe they're actually doing this, death battle between Deadpool and the Mask. Yeah, this is gonna get crazy. I'm gonna try and keep this under 20 minutes because this is just almost too insane to talk about, but we're gonna do our best. So let's get right into it, the action, shall we? All right, first up, Deadpool. Wade Winston Wilson was a guy who wanted to be a superhero and was enamored with the lifestyle that it would bring in terms of saving people, doing the right thing, blah, blah, blah. So, unfortunately for him, he got cancer. Aw. And that led to him just giving up on life, basically. He was desperate to just either get rid of it or end it all. And he left everything behind for one last chance at life via Department K. Department K was a Canadian institution that was promising to help cure his cancer, but instead it was actually just an offshoot of the Weapon X program. You know, the people who made Wolverine. So what they did was they experimented on him, tortured him endlessly, and then eventually injected him with some of Wolverine's DNA, healing powers. It's a little ambiguous, but when he did, it made him basically unkillable. And so they tortured him a lot more. And eventually his psyche broke. And he became Deadpool. Okay, I was honestly expecting Deadpool to show up there like in Death Battle, but I guess I don't have the budget. Anyway, so as Deadpool, Wade Wilson became a basically unstoppable killing machine. He has mastery of basically every weapon he touches, whether it be bladed weapons, guns, or just about anything else he thinks he can get his hands on. He's even used a cat to kill a person, and not in the way you might think. In one of the most insane and my personal favorite Deadpool story for one of his anniversary issues, I believe it was Deadpool number 700, he literally picked up a cat, opened the guy's mouth, and shoved it in. The whole cat. I don't want to know what that feels like or how that works. I don't care. But yeah, he did that. He's willing to use anything and everything to get the job done. He, in a battle with Bullseye, who was dressed up as Hawkeye because it was Dark Reign, the event, he even put on a meat suit and fought with it because that's what he wanted to do when he grew up, and he finally got to do it. If you want to know what Bullseye wanted to be, he wanted to be the bad guy. Love that. Love that arc. That was a great Deadpool arc. Anyway, so he's a master at hand-to-hand combat. He's master of all weapons, and he can go toe-to-toe with some of the greatest fighters in the Marvel universe, including, of course, Wolverine. All of X-Force, they had to try and take him down one time. It didn't go well for them. He's fought many X-Men. He's fought many other villains. He's gone toe-to-toe with, Captain America and for a lot of other Avengers. He even got decimated by the Hulk once and survived, which I'll get to in a bit. And then there's the magic satchel that he has. He has the ability to pull just about any kind of weapon, object, or entity per se that he can think of, including, yes, the elephant from the Deathstroke episode. But he usually uses it to pull out weapons of all kinds. He has a teleportation belt, which he can use. He pulled out an Infinity Stone technically once. Yeah. Basically, if he thinks he can pull something out of it, he pretty much can. So there's that. And I just mentioned he has a teleportation belt, which he can use to warp all over the place. But of course, his greatest asset is his healing factor, which allows him to heal from literally just about anything, including one time when he had to go up against the Hulk because it's a long story, but the Hulk got so ticked about something that he did, even though he was trying to do the right thing, that he literally punched him so hard his top half got vaporized. All right, like his whole top half was vaporized, gone. All that was left was his bottom half, and he still healed back, which means he's better than Wolverine's in his healing factor, because Wolverine's healing factor relies on his brain. Well, Deadpool's doesn't for whatever reason. So yeah, he's infinitely hard to kill. You can decapitate him, though apparently the decapitation was a weakness once. It's no longer the case, because he was once melted into a puddle with nothing but his head, and he's still regenerated. And then of course the Hulk feat I just mentioned. So you can chop off his head. You can literally dismember him, and he would still be alive. In fact, a clone of Deadpool called Evil Pool, it's a terrible name, was the result of various body parts of Wade being cut off, frozen, and then thawed, and then they came back together and they formed, basically the most evil version of Deadpool you can imagine. So yeah. Now about his heroism or lack thereof, he rides the line really hard. All right, like at times he'll be full up hero, including a one-time funding the entire Avengers and being an Avenger. And then other times, like in Secret Empire and some of his more 90s days, he was much more of a villain, to the extent where a lot of the heroes just tried to get rid of him because he was killing so many people. He is a mercenary more than he is a hero. He's not. You could even argue he's not even an anti-hero, because at times he's just so crazy and wants to do what he wants, when he wants, how he wants to do it, that it's really quite insane. He tries to do good at times and has fought for name recognition and all that, like when he was with the Avengers and everything. He was even the Earth's greatest hero at points, but more times than not, Wade gets in his own way because of his just insanity and his inability to truly seed out what it means to be good at times. So, yeah. Like the one time he went with the Thunderbolts, which was led by Red Hulk at the time, and he had a crush on Elektra. And when he tried to confess his love for her, and Punisher basically beat him to the punch in regards to getting her, he didn't take it well. So he tried to kill him, he tried to kill her, and yeah, it was a thing. It was a thing. So yeah. So if I was to try to name all the feats of Deadpool, it would be long. This would go a lot longer than 20 minutes. But needless to say, he has fought good guys, bad guys, anti-heroes, gods. He was a herald to Galactus. He's fought Thanos and survived. He is a guy who, is willing to die, but it just can't die. So there's that, because he's in love with death. It happens. What are you gonna do? You can't choose who you love at times. But death, really? Okay, anyway. So, yeah. Deadpool has had an infinite amount of crazy fights. He has fought, 100 ninjas at once while on the cell phone. He's beaten, scores of teams of heroes and villains just using his base skills. He can react faster than the eye can track at times. He can, like I said, he can teleport. His healing factor is, near infinitely powerful. It's really hard to kill him. He can die, though, and there are ways to trick him into, overplaying his hand and his skills. Like, for example, if you take away his teleportation belt and even his magic satchel, which you can't take away technically, he's still just a guy. He's just a guy with a really cool healing factor, and he's willing to do just about anything to get out of a situation. But if you play your cards right, you can beat him. And some people have in the past. Deadpool has died several times in the comics. Just it never really sticks. So if you mess with the merc with the mouth, you're screwed. Yeah, you're screwed. Woo! All right. So the Mask, aka Big Head. Now, if you watched the recent Death Battle preview, you'll no doubt be picturing a lot about the Mask movie starring Jim Carrey and Cameron Diaz. I literally want you to forget about that movie for now, because if you look at the comics, if you look at where the origins of this is, it's a lot darker. It's a lot crazier, and it has one really big twist, because if you know the Mask movie, Stanley Ipkiss is the main character. It's Jim Carrey's character. He becomes the Mask, smoking, and all that stuff. But in the comics, while he is the first character to have the mask, he doesn't last that long. Seriously. Like, he wears the mask a few times based on what I can find, and then his girlfriend, Kathy, who he eventually, long story, his ex-girlfriend, Kathy, I should say, finds out he's the Mask and kills him. and then a whole slew of other people become the Mask. So if you really think about it, while they are going to use Stanley Ipkiss because he's the most known Mask per se, and it honestly doesn't really matter who wears the mask to unlock the powers, as you'll see, it's just hilarious that he's the first Mask to die, right? Like he gets killed by Kathy, then she wears the mask, then uh, Detective Calloway wears the mask, mobsters wear the mask, mobsters driver wears the mask, kids wear the mask, the Joker wears the mask, Lobo wears the mask. It gets crazy. Like there are so many people who wear the mask that you can. There's no one real person. There's no one real person who has the mask. So, but for this one, we will focus on Stanley Ipkiss for the most part because he is the, let's call him the quintessential Mask, and he's the one that you all know. But just know that there have been at least 15 people who have worn the mask over the history of the franchise in terms of the comics, not including the movies or the cartoon spinoff, okay? So, the mask's origins are a bit murky. Like there's some who say it was created by Loki. There are some who say it was just a what was it? It was an African ritual, I believe they said it was, gone wrong. Either way, the mask works the same way. This mask is a literal mask, and if you put it on, it will unlock your deepest, darkest desires in terms of personality and and completely release you from your inhibitions. What does that mean? Well, for Stanley Ipkiss, he was, kind of demure. He was kind of meek. He was, he couldn't, take action on those who would do him wrong. So when he put on the mask and he became, the mask, the first thing he did was he went and got revenge on anyone he ever had a grudge with. And being that a lot of people picked on him, that was a lot of people. And he would just, at first, he would just bully them, but then he straight up killed them. All right? Because the mask basically warps your sanity complex, with one or two exceptions, as I'll explain. Because the longer you wear the mask, it affects you. Because the mask is its own entity. The mask is alive. It speaks with its own voice, its own mind, its own sense of duty and everything. And it will warp you. For example, with Stanley, he got the mask for his girlfriend Kathy, and after he was incredibly kind to her, incredibly sweet to her, even though he wasn't that outgoing. But when he put on the mask, and the more he used the mask, he became incredibly violent and angry and emotional, and he would yell at her and berate her, and that led to her kicking him out. He gave the mask to her as a gift originally. He stole it back so he could use it again, and then after she realized what was going on here, she was the one who killed him. So yeah, that happened. But anyway, go back to the mask. The mask has the ability to just make you as virtually indestructible as possible. All through something we all know and love, the Toon Force. No, not the Speed Force, not the, I was Cosmic, or not the Power Cosmic. I was going for a Marvel reference. Not the Power Cosmic, the Toon Force. Because the mask, aka Big Head, is basically a living cartoon character. All right? The moment you put the mask on, the moment it transforms you, you become a living cartoon character to the extent that your body can stretch endlessly. You can appear anywhere at any time if you wanted to. You can bounce off of objects as if you were made of rubber. You can stop your momentum and prevent yourself from crashing into the ground. You can pull an infinite amount of weapons and armaments and all these other kinds of things to hurt your enemies. You can basically, you can summon things, including animals, to help you power a log to catch up to a speedboat. Because reasons. You can catch up to the freaking bat plane. Look it up. Okay? So, basically anything that you can imagine doing in any reality, you can do. You can transform yourself into just about anything you want. Like if you recall the Jim Carrey movie, which this actually is viable because it mimics a lot of the same powers as the comics. All right, he was able to change his look, his attire, even his size at times to better reflect what was going on. Like if you remember the bad guy Dorian, he was able to, Dorian was, a decently built guy, but then when he put on the mask, he became like this behemoth of a mobster guy, right? That was because of the power of the mask. He was able to just alter his body size to an infinite amount of ways. But it still doesn't stop there. You can do things beyond reality, like teleporting. He can break past the fourth wall, obviously. In fact, the only person who can't break past the fourth wall that Deadpool has fought in Death Battle, is Deathstroke, which is fine because he doesn't need it. He doesn't need the fourth wall to be deadly. So yeah, anything he can break, if he can break reality, he will. In the crossover he had with Lobo, I am not making this up. In the crossover he had with Lobo, they once battled so hard that they both lost all their bodies, and all that was left was their heads. Now, if you know Lobo from the previous Death Battle, he has an incredibly healing factor too, so he can live as just a head, and he did. And these two literally had a tongue battle where Lobo's tongue had a knife, and the mask had a bone. Kid you not. And when they clashed, the bone broke the knife. Okay, and if you know Lobo, he doesn't use any weak knives, so that would have been should have been impossible to break. Oh, but I'm just getting started. He then snapped his body back together because his healing factor is far beyond Lobo's, and he literally grabbed the word bubbles of the comic and shoved them down Lobo's mouth. Not his throat, because his throat wasn't there, but he just literally grabbed all the speech bubbles and just shoved them down Lobo's throat and made him eat his own words. That is the power of the mask. That is what you're up against. And I mean, he is basically a serial killer. Now there have been some like Kathy who have used it a little more heroically, but the more you use the mask, the more you just lose your own sanity. And a lot of people who have worn the mask have died because of various acts done with the mask, and then when they come out of the mask, if you will, they die one way or the other, whether it be through someone else's hands or their own. It's a lot, and that's why this mask, as powerful it is and as amazing as its abilities are, is the ultimate risk reward, because you may get a lot, but you're going to destroy yourself in the process, as Stanley and Kathy and Calloway and Walter and a bunch of kids and Lobo and even Joker have realized. Put on the mask at your own risk. Okay, so we're at 17 minutes. I don't think I'm going to make the 20 mark, but I'm going to try. So, who wins in this battle of the insanity meters? Well, here's the thing. I think you can actually boil this down to one very simple thing. What is their maximum power level? What do I mean by that? Well, Deadpool, as crazy as he is, as amazing as the stuff he has done, his stuff, more or less, is based on reality. Okay? The guns he pulls out is out of reality. He breaks the fourth wall, that's fine. But he doesn't pull from that outside the fourth wall, right? Pinkie Pie could, but Deadpool can't. All right, he can know things from the other universes. He's met Batman. He can do that. But, and I mean, like in canon, he's met Batman. Yeah. Thank you, Gail Simone. So he could do a lot of things, but everything he does is based in reality. Even the magic satchel, he pulls things out that are in reality, like the guns, the weapons, the Infinity Stone, and even the elephant. All right, those are based in reality. Okay, he is defined by reality, even though he tries to break out of it. Okay, the mask has no such constraints. The mask breaks the laws of physics, reality, and everything in between because he can. Just the Toon Force alone is enough for him to do whatever he wants, and then the rest of the powers of the mask just make him basically invincible and immortal. Okay, he once got shot in the head, had a hole right here, and was fine, and it was kept talking and doing his thing. Even Deadpool would react to that in most cases. All right, his shape-shifting ability is insane, and Deadpool can't do that. The mask can summon just about anything beyond reality, even. And again, the speech bubbles thing. He made Deadpool he made Lobo eat his own words. All right. What's more, the only way to really kill the mask is not to kill the mask. You can't kill the mask. You can hurt the mask. That he has been hurt before, including by Walter, the mafia goon that continually goes after the mask. But it's the host that can die. But they can only die when the mask is off of them. And as Walter himself shown, who has emphatic strength, all right, when you try and pull off the mask, it doesn't work. All right, only the user can pull off the mask. So Because of that, as long as he's in mask form, he can't die. All right, he was turned to ash in one when a Calloway was the mask. He was turned to ash because he held a bomb to himself. They showed him being turned to ash. Then the next page comes over and Calloway is fine and he's burying the mask. All right, so Deadpool has nothing that can kill the mask. But wait a minute, Todd. Isn't this a Pinkie Pie situation where she has nothing to take down Deadpool either? No. Pinkie Pie was not the mask. Pinkie Pie was Pinkie Pie. All right? The mask, as noted, he can break physics and reality to an infinite level. Look at the movie. All right? He not only would alter himself and his reality, he could alter everyone else's reality. Think of the club scene, all right? He turned the entire band into something else. All right, he turned them into from a like a jazz band to a rock or a big band, right? And so, he could change other people's realities. So what's to say he can't do the same to Deadpool? And while it's fair to say that Deadpool's healing factor is incredible, the mask is so unrelenting, he will find something to use to kill him. And since he's breaking the fourth wall, just like Deadpool, he'll know that Deadpool is, near infinitely powerful. He handled Lobo, all right? He went toe-to-toe with Lobo and was fine. Even Lobo was amazed by how powerful he was, okay? So if you can go up against Lobo and be fine, you can handle Deadpool no problem. So in the end, just because of the powers of the Toon Force and everything that goes along with the mask, not to mention the mask's invulnerability, based on everything I found, I don't see how the mask can lose. And even they were teasing it, let's kill Deadpool. You don't make that proclamation if you're not sure that Deadpool can be killed. So if there's any way to kill Deadpool, this is the guy. This is who I'm picking. I'm getting back in the freaking win column because they are totally not going to do another tie. They can't do that after what happened with Pinkie Pie, which I've grown to love, but still. The mask will win. I guarantee it. It's time to party. P-A-R-T. Why? Because I gotta. So, yes, I am picking the mask. And then with that, I'm ending this episode of Todd Talk. Let me know who you think is going to win between Deadpool and the mask. How crazy is this going to get? And are you ready for the insanity that is coming our way? Let me know in the comments below. So, I thank you for watching. If you made this far, I know you were listening, and I'll see you around.